scrounging for food and shelter when the weather turned bad. Logan told himself to buck up and reached across to pat the animal's matted head. No telling what color the mutt was, under all that dirt and sorry luck. As for the mix of breed, he was probably part lab, part setter, and part a whole slew of other things. His ribs showed, and a piece of his left ear was missing. Yep, he'd been nobody's dog for too long. When he'd pulled into the rest stop to stretch his legs after the long drive from Las Vegas, he hadn't counted on picking up a four-legged hitchhiker. But when the dog slunk out of the bushes as he stepped down from the truck, Logan couldn't ignore him. There was nobody else around, and if there ever had been a tag and collar, they were long gone. Logan had known he was that dog's last hope, and since he'd been in a similar position himself a time or two, he hadn't been able to turn his back. He'd hoisted the critter into the pickup, and they'd shared a fast-food breakfast in the next town. The dog had horked his chow up in short order and looked so remorseful afterward that Logan hadn't minded stopping at a car wash to scour out the rig. Now, several hours later, as he steeled himself to lay eyes on the ranch house for the first time in a lot of eventful years, Logan was glad of the company, though the conversations were distinctly one-sided. They finally crested the last hill, and Logan saw the barn first, still standing, but leaning distinctly to one side. He forced himself to swing his gaze to the house, and his spirits rose a little. Part of the roof was sagging, but the rambling one-story log structure, originally a one-room cabin smaller than most garden sheds, had managed to endure. None of the 3 stone chimneys had crumbled, and the front windows still had glass in them, the old-fashioned kind with a greenish cast to it and little bubbles here and there. Home, Logan thought, with a mixture of determination and pure sorrow. Such as it was, Stillwater Springs Ranch was home. It was probably too much to hope that the plumbing still worked, he decided, but he'd called ahead and had the lights and the telephone service turned on anyhow. His sidekick was in sore need of a bath, and hiking back and forth to the springs for water would be taking the whole back-to-basics thing too far. His luxurious Vegas lifestyle hadn't prepared him for roughing it. Sidekick, Logan mused as he climbed out of the truck. Suppose you go by that for a while. Apparently overjoyed, Sidekick leaped across the gear shift in the console into the seat Logan had just vacated. Logan chuckled and lifted him gently to the ground. Soon as he got the chance, he'd take the animal to a vet for a checkup and some shots. There might be a microchip implanted somewhere under his hide, identifying him as someone's lost pet, but Logan doubted it. Most likely, Sidekick had been dumped, if he'd ever belonged to anybody in the first place. The dog did some sniffing around, then lifted his leg against an old wagon wheel, half submerged in the ground. As Logan approached the house, with its drooping front porch, Sidekick trotted eagerly after him. Any sensible person, Logan reflected ruefully, would bulldoze the once imposing shack to the ground and start over. But then he wasn't a sensible person. He had 2 failed marriages, a career in rodeo, and a lot of heartache to prove it. He shouldered open the front door, causing the hinges to squeal, and after another deep breath, stepped over the threshold. The place was filthy, of course, littered with newspapers, beer cans, and God knew what else. But the plank floors had held, and the big natural rock fireplace looked as sturdy as if it had just been mortared together. Standing in the middle of the ancestral pile, and pile was definitely the word, Logan